Hello, welcome to CafeSoCo. My name is Dan Gold. We are in a slightly different location here at the 220 in Saskatoon. We're in the Common at the moment. And as you can see, opposite me is Dustin from Unink. And he's on that side of the table, and I'm on this side of the table, so I apologize. I might be looking at him more than I'm looking at you. Just got to say a big thank you to Martin Charlton Communications for bringing us CafeSoCo and supporting the podcast. You can subscribe to the podcast via iTunes, or you can subscribe to this channel and find out more at martincharlton.ca/CafeSoCo. Okay, on with the show, as they say. So with me, as I said, I've got Dustin. Dustin, firstly, thank you for being a part of this. How are you? What have you been doing? Is it a busy time of year as we get into spring?
Dan, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. This is a real pleasure. It's an honor to be chosen for this. Yeah, we are busy. It seems like spring rejuvenates a lot of grandiose visions for what the year can be for a lot of small to medium-sized businesses. So we're starting a lot of conversations. I feel as though the snow melting sort of reignites some of those ambitious ideas that managers and owners have for 2016. So we're definitely involved in a lot of quoting right now. We're starting campaign development, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what this year will bring. Definitely a stage of growth for us. We're looking at we're adding a new member right now, and our year-over-year numbers are really great. So all things are pointing positive. I think it's a really interesting environment we're in right now. I feel like when things are a little bit too good, the decision makers are often too busy to be looking at marketing and ad purchasing and digital ad purchasing, something that's a little bit more foreign to most local business owners. But when things are too dismal, they're often tightening things up, and the money doesn't flow like it used to. So it's a really great time to be in our business. So,
and that's a great thing. That's a great thing. How have you found? And we'll get into it properly in a minute. And maybe I'll start with this as a question as I'm pulling up my notes that are on the screen. How have you found people get the idea from traditional advertising, traditional marketing, as again thinking digitally? Because we've seen a shift in how the population consumes advertising and consumes content to this digital world, but it's a mix across, digital and let's say the real world, the analog world, because you've got, for example, who is it? Is it Amazon who are advertising on television quite heavily at the moment? The TV commercial with the dog that's limping and he puts it in the baby carrier. So we've got that interesting thing where we're seeing digital advertising on analog effectively. For brands and individuals, have you seen people go, do you know what? I think I'm getting what digital can do for me? And kind of maybe we start from there. What can digital do for people where other forms either struggle or that it's just a bit new world to them?
So I think there's two questions there. The first question I think is, what is it that sort of, how are people phrasing that question? Like, what can digital do for me? I think more people are just so hyper aware of digital now, especially the decision makers in a lot of the companies that I work with or I'm speaking with. They're influenced by the people around them using social media and the stories that they hear about what's going on in their friends' lives. A lot of it is stemming from social media in one form or another. And I think a lot of business owners are looking at it more seriously about how it is that their business can fit in, and how they can start leveraging some of these communication tools in a way that's authentic and true to their brands. Mm-hmm. And so I think they're so aware of it in their personal lives with the way that their friends and family are telling them about current events, that it ignites that conversation. But really, where to begin? That seems to be a mystery for a lot of these people, and that's usually where our conversations start when I come into the picture.
I think what we've seen with a lot of things with the digital world, we're what, 15 odd years truly into this digital sharing world, and probably only about 8, 9, 10 of really starting to understand it and what it can do for people. At the same time, the platforms have been learning as well, and they've bought in products and then they've taken out products, and people have had to go themselves. And have you found that a lot of people have said, well, I've tried it in the past, I'm not going to do it again, it just didn't work for me? And if people do say that, how do you explain it to them that, well, you're a certified professional and you've faced this before?
Definitely. I think it's difficult because there are some early adopters that are just really keen on getting into technology and new technology, and those people, they've had a chance to try these platforms, but like you're saying, the offerings that these platforms are providing are changing so rapidly, and even the type of media that we consume on those platforms is changing quite rapidly.
Yeah, no, I can see that your computer's popped off and is just in the process of popping on again. So whilst Blab and the internet negotiate the idea of being one and the same thing, I actually have a spare computer here, so we might be able to put him on.
Is this me?
I have no idea.
It says I'm connected here.
Oh, no. Well, I'll tell you what we can do is if I do that and I do that, I can show you a picture of the table instead. That's not really very helpful, is it? But there is a picture of the mug that I'm drinking from. That's not very sensible. Hold on one sec. If I turn off that and turn off ManyCam, I should be able to give you this other tablet as a device to be able to do this. So the big question I'd have, Dustin, is how did you get into digital media, and what challenges did you face yourself? Because people can still hear you whilst they're not seeing you.
Okay. Here, I can call on again. Let's see.
You're calling in again. There we go. There we go. And now I've got a picture of the table for no reason. Hold on, let's put the mug there.
Okay.
I was joking about the mug, but it seems to work.
So I got into this, well, I guess I was sort of introduced to this whole world through the necessity of my previous employer pivoting over to digital becoming a digital advertising solution for the automotive industry. I used to work for autotrader.ca.
Okay.
And autotrader.ca was obviously a very prominent print publication for buying and selling vehicles. So with the decline in magazine sales and the uptake in listing online, they started losing massive market share, and they were forced out of necessity to transition to becoming an online classified solution. With that, then they started offering other forms of digital advertising and other digital solutions like website development for automotive dealerships. And it was sort of through that framework of how they transitioned and how they remained relevant that was the inspiration for my business. So I left that company about 3 years ago, started Unink Marketing and Creative Agency, mirroring the initial focus off of making that transition, helping businesses make that transition from focusing on traditional and moving and focusing more time and effort on their digital presence. Yeah.
Do you think that there's resistance? I mean, whether it's this market or it's because of really effective traditional salespeople who, and we have to put our hands up that people who sell advertising on TV, on radio, in directories and whatever, they're clearly all doing a very good job in challenging markets, in challenging times. They're all rolling out digital products and digital extensions to what they're doing, and good for them, because that makes a healthy marketplace and it makes a healthy competition. Do you think that we're seeing them when they sell them, they're going, look, we've got product A, which is our traditional thing, and we've got this digital bit as well, and it's kind of being bonded together? Or is it a case of they're going, hey, we've got this digital thing and the traditional thing? Right. I mean, it's an interesting time and space.
Well, I think the difference, the major difference between one of the major differences between traditional and digital advertising is that most of the time traditional, the ad rep represented a company that owned the medium, and by owning the medium, they were able to set the price, figure out the standard for analytics, as well as reporting, and then all incentives and what the competitive landscape would look like. However, in digital, there's a couple major players that own the mediums. It's international. Competition can be anywhere. It's never ending by auction, and it really changes the conversation. So I think any sort of sales is relational based. So these reps have a great opportunity to go in and leverage these existing relationships to help sort of bridge that gap and to bring existing clients on into new media. It's in the best interest of the owners of those more traditional mediums to continue to work in and package those traditional items with new media, because just competing on new media puts you against international competition as well as free options. So I think it just makes more sense for an owner of or a traditional, historically traditional media source to be bonding the two together. Yeah.
No, and I totally get it, and it's quite funny. If you what you can't see on here, and I can see that Matt Ramage is watching this at the moment. What you can't see is that a television network's vehicle is just pulled up outside the window, so it's quite a good time for that discussion. So we're here to talk primarily about demystifying Facebook, and some people might have had a go at creating a Facebook campaign for their Facebook post. They may have also had a go at setting up a Google AdWords campaign. And Google AdWords is such an awesome beast that it's not a thing for kind of just having a hack at, because you can go through a lot of money very, very quickly. And with Google Ads, I'd particularly say go and talk to a professional. It's just not worth giving at risk otherwise. So let's start with Facebook. Let's do a chunk of time on that and then a chunk of time on Google. So if we talk about Facebook, what are the forms of advertising that you can do on that? And from experience, I know that different content is going to impact it, and different clients and topics and geographical areas. But what forms of advertising on Facebook tend to be bring results, let's say? I mean, one over the other? Is one better?
Okay. You're on Facebook, you're kind of buying different objectives. So you as an advertiser will have a different objective or a type of objective that you're trying to achieve by advertising or spending the money on that medium. So sometimes it's trying to generate traffic. Sometimes it's trying to get ad views or views on your video. So ad plays. Sometimes it's impression or awareness, brand awareness. Sometimes it's trying to actually promote your Facebook network to try and increase the size of your audience on Facebook. So there's more on top of that. But as far as how you achieve those things, Facebook is doing a good job of creating a mix of different types of ad units that you can buy. So, anything from a static graphic ad, gallery ads, video ads, and then the stuff that's been around forever is seeing a business advertise their own Facebook page and a like. So there's a couple different ad units that you can buy, but it's really the objective that the advertiser is trying to achieve that sort of motivates or dictates how you're going to set up your campaign.
If I just take me from the years of working in radio, for example, when we talk to clients about advertising, we'd say, hey, we've got a reach of this in our marketplace, and we target this age to this age, male female split is whatever percentage, and they listen for an average of 20 minutes, etc., etc. Can you just spend a moment explaining about how targeting works on Facebook, and how does Facebook know so accurately about how many people of that bracket that you're selecting is within that geographical area?
Right. Okay, so we're voluntarily giving up everything that an advertiser would want to know. Not only do they know the basic things like your age and your sex, but they're also learning about whether or not you're married and if you have kids or not. Again, based on the information that you input right into Facebook. When you like something, that sort of helps build a user profile that Google can then use to present to advertisers so that they can choose, again, people that lean towards this sort of thing, that sort of thing. And it goes as deep as political views, interests in different movies and activities, even education levels and income brackets. So it's creating a really holistic sort of profile on each user, and it's providing that information in bulk for advertisers to potentially target in their campaigns.
And that's really interesting, because if you think about if you're targeting someone that's, if you're a company that sells hi-fi system, I'm saying hi-fi systems, that sounds so old. If you're someone that sells home entertainment systems with integrated this, that, and the other, and a massive subwoofer and this, that, and whatever, so you could probably know the target audience you want to aim for people with disposable income, I would imagine, and then go beyond that. Okay, the geographical area that I want to sell to. And then, okay, let's pick people who like, let's say, movies, because it might be people who, talk about movies a lot on their profiles, like either streaming them or buying them. Therefore, they'll be a perfect target for having that equipment, surely.
Definitely. I also think, there's a lot that can be learned from a potential advertiser's own website traffic. A lot of information can be gathered through Google Analytics on where people are coming from, what pages are showing or people are showing interest in, and even this information, looking inwards at what you've already presented online and what you've already given people, can help influence or help an advertiser. And will influence an advertiser's approach to ad buying as well, and to setting up the different ad groups that they're going to target on, and types of individuals that they're going to target on.
That I've never thought about. That brings me to a question that relates to it, and I'm just typing that as a question to put on here, or a statement to put on here. Don't underestimate the information available from your own website's analytics. There's this button on Facebook that I've seen when I've played around with ads in the past, and it's the button to exclude your existing audience when you're running an ad campaign. I can see why you would exclude people, because you don't want to pay to already communicate with people who are existing customers. But but I can I would explain to me why you would use, not select that and still send messaging to people who are already on your page. I mean,
I think Google's stock value explains that. When Google started, they gained a lot of momentum really quickly, and there was a big uptake in businesses using Facebook to promote sales and promotions and just about anything that they thought would be beneficial to the company. This really cluttered up the user experience and really took away from what Facebook was supposed to be about, and also was really loud. So Facebook did a few things to try and combat that, and today we have a network that typically only lets anywhere between 10 and maybe 15-20% of your current fan base see any one of your posts. So it's really muting the reach and the voice of advertisers. Also, when you're presenting ads on Facebook, they're really trying to make them less intrusive and see more part of the regular ecosystem. So they're limiting the amount of text that you can see on ads. The type of content that you see in an ad. And again, it's just to make it seem a little bit more natural instead of a big blaring ad that's in the classified listings or something. So it's really moving away from what advertisers or traditional advertisers used to do, because at the beginning it definitely was same ad that goes in print. Very similar type of approach will be used for your digital ads. So.
Yeah. Now, just to explain to people, if you're just turning on right now, hello, welcome to Blab. I'm Dan Gold. Dustin is with me from Unink here in Saskatoon, and we are both in the same room. I've never seen anyone do this before. Normally they're in different locations. I don't know. If I see, this is also in the same room as us, and if I disconnect this tablet, you should be able to see. There we go. There's Dustin next to me. I'm just going to put this back down. So let me just turn the volume down on that so that it doesn't defeat us. There we go. The follow-up question, and Matt has got a question for us. Do you think that visual art and graphic design has become more and more important to advertising on Facebook? Because we used to get things, as you're saying, we used to get things just which looked exactly the same as a print ad, which was really word heavy, and maybe a bit of stock imagery on it. Now it's getting a bit more. You've disappeared again. We can over. We're not getting into the argument between Mac and PC at all, but we're okay. When it comes to those image-based adverts, far more effective than text-based adverts because they've obviously been banned, so times have changed. Is there certain forms of imagery that work better? Are there things that really fall flat? And can you do A/B testing with two different images to lead you to what your look and feel is, or does it just have to be absolutely consistent with your other advertising? Can you do something a bit special online?
Okay, so I think if you're not doing A/B testing, you're not doing it right. There's always something to be learned, and subtle changes in ads can make a profound difference in the way that people respond. Again, back to a funny story about autotrader.ca. They went free to list online. Close to 7 or 8 years ago. And I just saw the other day, they're still running free to list online for classified ads.
Oh, wow.
Which I think is just amazing that there's still that misunderstanding that you can do that. And Auto Trader's been spending money for years trying to promote that. They initially started by making some changes on the homepage of their website to try and draw people's attention to that, and even that failed. So I think people are they're creatures of habit, and if they use something online, they're using it for the outcome or whatever the desired goal is.
Yeah.
Not to try and think or learn about the new things that your business has to offer, even though we like it for it to be that way.
Yeah.
So I think A/B testing is vital to determining what things are indeed making a difference and making things better and which ones aren't. And as far as the importance of the visual element behind ads and I guess communication, it's the way that we're moving. When you look at how different social media networks work, where we're looking at Terminator files, Terminator videos, where you see something on Snapchat, you see it once and then it's gone forever. People are using emojis to express themselves. I have full conversations with friends that are just memes. It's crazy, but it's sort of the way that things are moving. So I think being able to have a concise message and having it be experienced or felt through the visuals is really important.
Yeah.
If you're not able to do that, you're gonna miss a lot of people because things are just moving too fast now.
Okay, what we're going to do is I've actually got you on visually on this. So unless you want to maybe move your laptop aside, unfortunately, it's only working through the back camera, which is really very, very weird. But we're just going to move. Is this under anything? Okay. Let's just move that there. Okay, so just carry on talking to me and don't worry about your laptop. So the challenges of internet connectivity, and Blab is beta. We do have to remember that. Matt Ramage does have these questions. When it comes to a sales funnel, is it better to have Facebook go to your page or to your website? Specifically, when you pay for a Facebook ad, should the ad go to your page or go to your website? So actually, this is a question that we've had recently because, just for disclosure, I do our digital advertising and bits and bobs through Dustin. And being here in the 220, it just works very, very well that we can walk between each other's offices. And being a certified online advertising professional, it just all made perfect sense. So the question from Matt, should a paid ad go to your page or to your website? Can you pay on Facebook to go to your page?
You can link to your page.
Okay.
Now, as far as the best to answer that question, it's going to be a lame answer because there isn't a right answer for that question. Whatever you're buying, it's totally dependent on what your objective is and what environment you can take somebody to that will best help achieve that objective.
Okay.
So, is it possible that is your Facebook page? Maybe. Not likely. There's just so much more that you can do when you're creating your own landing page, and there's a lot of businesses out there that is their business, is creating great landing pages and great experiences on landing pages and the analytics that go along with it. So yeah, you can do either or, but from my standpoint, I would more or less lean towards taking them to an environment that you control and that you're monitoring, so that you can really make that campaign run as smoothly as possible.
The more work that I do researching the importance of lead pages to get people into a specific funnel, for example, getting people to sign up for a free giveaway like a fact sheet or a free video series or a free webinar or some discount incentive, and then building mailing lists. I see more and more importance on having mailing lists where you can directly address people, because we've kind of got into this pace with social where social works really well for connecting with people and giving them value, but also not underestimating the importance of being able to get permission from someone to then email them about something that they're actually interested in, away from social media where they could get distracted. So when it comes to lead pages particularly, is there much value in that for a lot of people? do a lot of retail brands, I mean, I see it, sign up here for our newsletter, sign up here for discounts and stuff. Having a page which Facebook promotes forwards to, that page for the sign up with the mailing list, that's got to convert quite well, surely.
Well, I think the end goal of a sign up page is to grow your email marketing list. And I think it would be safe to say that most digital marketers would suggest or say that the best or most impactful form of digital marketing that they do is email marketing. So if you can get somebody's attention and get into their inbox, I think that's insanely valuable. It allows you to have a conversation with somebody monthly or quarterly or however often you send out your newsletter. But there's a lot of opportunities when you can build an email list, especially in the long term. So with education about your company and its values, as well as introducing new products and services. So definitely, if you can have a strategy that allows you to capture email list or email information, that's great. Instead of having a one-off customer or converting once, you potentially have the opportunity to convert on a regular basis. So
Facebook is this wonderful platform where we can talk about all sorts of topics and we can vent our own opinions, as many often do. Have you had any clients come to you and go, look, we maybe have got this wrong in the past. We need to do something. Right. Maybe it's that desperate cry for help. Have you had that? And what can people do? I mean, you're getting into the realms of reputation first and then trying to sell and convert. But is there something that can be done in that kind of situation?
Well, I think this building that we're in, it's the 220 building in Saskatoon. It's full of creatives that are involved in photography, all sorts of production, creative work, writers, and marketers and advertisers. And one thing that a lot of us share in common is that there can be a relatively low barrier to entry, and then vice versa. Like these networks, they're trying to make it easy for people and new advertisers to get involved. So whether you're looking at AdWords Express or just simply boosting a Facebook post, it's really easy to spend money quickly with these networks. So I often have conversations with people that feel as though they've gotten burned in the past. They're having a conversation with me because they're clearly willing to give it a second chance or trying to figure out if they've missed something. It doesn't seem to be just a fad. So definitely, we have those conversations all the time, and I think it's interesting to see how even Google has developed over time and how they've changed the way they do business, and even Facebook's adding a tracking pixel option right when you set up your ad campaign. And they'll walk you through the steps on how to set that up because they're really trying to prove their value now. They're trying to do that thing that we've been bragging about as digital marketers forever. They're trying to make that easier for people. And I think that's a really unique and interesting thing because it's the first time it's ever happened. So I think it's great that they're sort of embracing the strengths that they have and really trying to even, I guess, hold their networks accountable. Because at the end of the day, there's just a million things that you can tweak in a campaign to make it better. So it's not necessarily the network. It's the person pulling the levers and pushing the buttons. Google at the same time has introduced video ads through YouTube, which have been around forever now, but are now more accessible than ever to local businesses. And even them, the way that they allow for somebody to skip a video if they don't find it relevant or interesting, the way that they have a minimum threshold for how long somebody must watch the video before anything ever gets billed. These are great ways to alleviate some of the stress and concern that an advertiser may have before using some of these networks. But there's still a ways to go, and I think there's still things that could be done better. But every month, it's getting better and better. So
yeah, no, I think we're in a really healthy place, and it's getting to be incredibly interesting. Facebook, number one thing that people do, aside from just saying that they get burnt, and they throw a pile of money at it, and it just doesn't work because they haven't done the research, or they don't know what they're doing. They're going, oh, I boosted a post for $5 or £5 recently, and it seemed to work, so I'm going to throw 50 or 100 or 150 at another post, and then it doesn't work. What's the number one thing that people should avoid doing so that they don't end up going down that path by piling loads of money in something that's just not going to get them a result?
I think being disrespectful of your audience and what motivates your potential customers. A lot of business owners are just way too close to their businesses. They're used to handling objections from the potential buyers and having them in an environment that they can control. And when they're in that environment, they can convert and close, and that's great. But online, it can be difficult to start those conversations. And if you're not speaking to your potential customers' needs or desires, then you're going to miss the mark, and you're going to hear a lot of crickets. So I think the number one thing is, what motivates your ad buying, and is the thing that motivates your reason for buying the ad, is that the message that you're conveying? Because if it is, you're probably missing the mark. You have to figure out what's going to motivate somebody to actually buy that thing, and that needs to be the focal point of your campaign. So I think that's the number one thing that business owners or people that are buying online, just make sure you're not too close, and that your message is on point before you spend a single dollar. Yeah.
So let's move from Facebook, because I had a letter the other day from Bing. Thank you, Bing. $100 of advertising value.
Ooh,
amazing. I wish that I could use it on Friends Reunited. Hold on. No, they disappeared as well. So my question would be, with second tier, let's say, search engines. I know that there's the partnership between Yahoo and Google.
I think that's now changed. I think that partnership is now between Yahoo and Bing.
Really?
I think so.
Oh, no.
Maybe if somebody online wants to chime in and tell me if I'm wrong. But
if that's the case, I'm going to delete that link on my desktop. Okay, so there was a piece of advice that I got sent a little while ago, which was, make sure that you get your organic indexing sorted with the top 3 search engines. So that's obviously Google, Bing, and Yahoo. Mm-hmm. So submitting it is free. They've got submission pages. Make sure you've got good SEO. And frankly, everyone should have good SEO. So that's not going to do an awful lot from one site to the next. If everyone's following best practice, surely it doesn't make a lot of difference unless you're doing it wrong. The question that I would ask is, if we just take one product, and it is obviously the market leading product, sorry, I'm just tapping along. It's really weird because we've got 126 people watching us via martincharlton.ca/CafeSoCo. But going back to Blab, and again, it's in beta, it's only got you, me, and Matt, which is really bizarre. It's in beta. It's fine. When we've got advertising on Google, I get overwhelmed. I've got to be honest with you. I get overwhelmed. Setting up AdWords, you look at these scores and all these tables and all the variants, and you can buy packs of different words that are related words, and it'll tell you scores and this, that, and the other. And then you can exclude some search terms, and I'm not going to ask you in 15 minutes to explain everything about Google AdWords. But you were saying that there's a kind of a light product out there for people that are a bit new to it. What's that about? And does it really do them any favors, or is it another cash cow for Google?
Well, I feel, again, I do this, so of course there's a little bias, but I feel as though if you're ready to spend money on a network, to buy ads on a network, and you want to do it yourself, then educate yourself and learn how to do it properly. And I don't think that AdWords Express is necessarily the proper way to buy ads on Google. You can even phone Google if you really want, and they'll help walk somebody through setting up a campaign. However, again, they're going to do just as much as it takes to get that campaign active and live. So there's even things like location targeting. There's some subtle differences in the way that you can set up your location targeting. For one, I don't think a lot of people realize that when you bid on something like Saskatchewan, if you bid for the region of Saskatchewan, the default on Google is people in Saskatchewan, interested in Saskatchewan, or searching for items in Saskatchewan. So it's more than just people in the area. And wow. I think there's a big misconception of what that targeting actually is and what people think it is. So yeah, you do have the option to switch to people only physically being in Saskatchewan, but the default is people that are interested in the province as well. So I think that's even just small things like that. If you're selling something that's region specific, because maybe there's other retailers that sell the same thing in other areas, and you're limited to where you can sell. Stuff like this doesn't help you at all. And I think that's one of the first things I do when I audit an existing campaign with a customer is let's see where you're actually paying for clicks. Oftentimes you'll find that they're all over the place because people are looking for, and even unfortunately with smaller budgets, you'll find people in other countries that are looking for new clients, and if they find your ad, they'll click on it, and then all of a sudden you're a prospect. So I think making sure that your targeting is set up correctly that's even one of those areas that can just get missed if you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah. When you get clients coming to you, and is it a bit like the Facebook thing that things have gone wrong in the past and we've spent money, or we had a student, which is always the one that frightens me, and everyone's got to learn somewhere, but please go and practice on someone else, frankly. We had a guy, he was a son of a person who's been our next door neighbor for 30 years, and of course we trust them. They know everything about digital. Have you ever had that frustrating thing where you've gone and spoken to a company and they've gone, oh, right, what we'll do is we'll just check with our resident expert, it's the next door neighbor's son, and we'll get back to you. Are those the clients you actually want?
No, I don't know. I guess it depends on what the motives are of the potential client. If they have a really cool message, I don't care whether or not they feel like their gatekeeper is a 17-year-old kid. It's not ideal, and luckily we don't run into that often. I think one of the really cool things that Google does is that they mail out these teaser $150 credits, and people get that, and it's like candy. They're like, "Ooh, what am I going to do with this?" And then all of a sudden, it will spark a question, and it will spark an interest, and that even turns into leads as well for us. We'll show up as a Google partner in the region, and all of a sudden we'll get calls because they've got a credit that's burning a hole in their pockets. Yeah. So we get all types, but I think that sort of thing just comes back to sales and how you want to handle those situations. You want to be respectful of everybody that you're potentially doing business with, but you want to show or display that you can add value. And if you're able to do that, you're potentially going to get a client. So there's definitely instances where you're dealing with gatekeepers that aren't necessarily qualified to be gatekeepers, but those people have gained trust in the decision maker, and as long as you can convey that just a little bit more than them, unfortunately anybody can be an expert as long as they know just a little bit more than the person that they're speaking with. So
no, I've seen that before. Where do we see Twitter ads going? Sponsored tweets, because I'm struggling to see what Twitter can do next to refresh the product. I think there's an awful lot of noise on there, and people, unless they're following either specific sports or whatever it is, when there's an incident, something happens, Twitter is amazing. When people want to check on the latest update on the roads, they'll sometimes go to Twitter rather than going to a proprietary traffic website. Mm-hmm. But where does the commercial side go? I find it irritating. I'm sure other people find it irritating as well. When you've got that, you're having a Twitter conversation, you can be going forwards and backwards, and they've grouped the conversation, which is great. But then beneath that, there's a sponsored tweet or a placed tweet, or you may also effectively following other people. I'm sorry, I'm having a conversation with someone. I'm not interested. I think that one's particularly, mispositioned. Twitter, the future. Surely someone's got to buy them, in my mind, and refresh it because it needs something. What are we going to see as an effective use of advertising on Twitter? I don't know what it's going to be. Will it be video?
And I don't know. I feel so bad. There's so much when I'm so. As a local business owner, I work with a lot of local businesses. So I go where my clients' customers are, and unfortunately, not a lot of them right now are on Twitter. There's lots of people on Twitter. It's just in Saskatchewan, user rates are a little bit lower than the average.
Yeah,
and it's just it's. Right now, like I can't even. To be honest, I've never actually done a campaign through Twitter. Our agency hasn't gone there yet, so we focus.
But maybe that's a real sign of things, that it's just struggling within this geographical location.
I think it could be. I do my best to keep a pulse on what's happening and what people are using, and I still feel that there's more people. There's more interaction and time spent with. It's kind of like people have kind of jumped. Like I think there'll be a little bit of an older, more intellectual demographic that uses Twitter.
Yeah.
And there'll be room for advertisers. Again, even like how easy to use the platform is, the advertising platform is, will, I think, be a big point as to how effective they are or can be. But I'm really not an authority on that network.
Yeah. I'm just thinking, I can't put a slate up or anything. I'm just going to put objects on there. Or I could just hit that one. There we go. Okay, so it's just you and me. We'll ignore the tablet. It was probably the tablet knocking you off every time. I don't see $100 gift cards for Twitter ads. You're absolutely right. But then again, I've not seen any Facebook ad incentives. Are there Facebook ad incentives out there? I think it's mainly in fact, I think it's only Google that sends out packs of them. Yeah.
I haven't had any clients show me any Facebook ad coupons.
Actually, Matt, whilst you're watching, just out of interest, independent of working with Dustin, have you used Twitter sponsored tweets? Have you used them at all? Because I think Matt's on Twitter. I might be a complete idiot right now, and he's going to just reply with, "No, we haven't." There we go. You are on Twitter, aren't you, Matt? It's like a seance. Suddenly the words appear. Oh, of course it is. Oh, I'm so silly. Yes, at Studio DYXC. Actually, Matt, if you are able to, unless you are surrounded by children, and even if you are, just hit the button and dial in. If you're on an iPhone, you have to install the app first. If you're on a computer, you can just dial straight in. Because I'd love to know your experience, or Christopher's experience, on any frustrations that you've had with advertising online and getting responses. And the one thing I think that's a real benefit of doing online advertising, in my mind, is that it's significantly more measurable. than going, we're going to run a billboard ad. Billboards, right? I think billboards are fine for who needs them, but I just find it that little bit frustrating that people are going to be sat at a traffic light for 40 seconds, and then how do you measure that? Well, we had 50,000 cars go past in a day for however many seconds, and okay, so where did you see our ad? Yeah, I can't remember. Right. I mean, how do you test that? Where with actual exposures on digital, this has got to be the difference. When an ad is seen by someone, that it's seen by someone.
Right.
I mean, the conversion beyond there is then going into analytics.
Sure.
So that's surely a good thing.
Well, I feel like, again, Google Analytics is underused by a lot of companies, and referral traffic is such a... Hey, Matt.
Hey.
I feel as though referral traffic is such a valuable asset to businesses to determining which social media networks, which websites, where the traffic's coming from. And of course, you can associate that with your funnels and figure out where your conversions are coming from. And that level of transparency is really empowering for people and for marketing departments and agencies like ours to help get more resources. So
now Christopher's just saying that he had a bad experience with Bing. Was that paying for advertising on Bing? I had the free vouchers, and I'm not sure that I would. Yeah, I mean, I just being so much further down on the tiers of where you can advertise. I'm not sure. I think the biggest challenge for most people, I know that Bing's got a commercial deal with. Are they still placed into Facebook internally? Or has that deal come to an end?
Ooh.
Because they were in there at one point. Okay, so not any longer.
No.
I struggle advertising with the second tier thing. Back in the UK, we have Yellow Pages and Thompson's in their sales pitch would come to you and they would say, "Hi, we're the number 2 directory in the country." There are only 2 directories in the UK. So that's not really a sales thing. Just before we go, because we've only got a couple of minutes left, Matt Ramage, thank you very much for joining us from Studio D. Are you at home? That's the first question.
Yeah, I'm at home.
Okay, good. You're not actually still in this building, because that would just be weird. 3 people in the same building. Matt, I saw your Facebook Live videos the other day, and I know you got a free round of beer, so commercially it was immediately a success from the venue you were doing Facebook Live from. Facebook's changing their algorithm to prioritize live video, then watch agains, and pre-recorded other videos in their video playback strategy. So they've clearly seen something that Periscope and Meerkat have been on for a while, and they've used them as a testing ground effectively. Hold on, you gave him a clap, and I'm the one speaking. Hold on, I'm going to clap you. There we go. From your point of view, was it great that your existing friends, family could see it immediately? And from Dustin's point of view, do you think that the next stage from everyone rolling out Facebook Live, which is ultimately the aim, I'm sure, do you think the next thing from that is actually seeing either pre-roll videos or sponsored videos appearing on Facebook? I'm sure that we've already seen some of the movie tie-in Facebook Live videos. I'm sure they're already commercial tie-in jobs. Do you think that this could be a real growth area? So it's me and Matt Ravage again.
Oh, God.
What do you think? People can still hear you.
Are you asking him first?
Well, I'll ask you first, Matt. Did you like it? Do you think there's a future for it commercially?
I thought it was really neat. I'm a tech guy. I really enjoy it, and I happened to be out with Dustin when we were trying it out, and to see almost up to 40 people simultaneously watching just made me laugh. And then when we'd see people the next day, we kind of felt internet famous, and like people were like, "I can't believe I was watching it that long." And I think I don't know how to gauge it. We did it personally. We just personally tagged ourselves. We didn't do our companies, and we did get the free round of beer. I feel like it could be really cool if you had an event or something like that where you, or even like something like what you're doing now with Blab, make a TV show or something. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll leave.
I think we're certainly going to see the future is not a social media world where we're saying, "Oh, this is what we've been doing." It's look at me, I am doing this. I think that is the change that we're going to see. I think that is personally the next stage of social.
I agree. I think it was just mind blowing the first time I saw this live stream on Facebook. I think there hasn't been a lot recently, I guess, as far as new features on these platforms that we're all used to. Not a lot of new features that really made me go wow, and this was one of them. I think it's amazing, and I think as things like drones get more popular and it's easier for us to take and capture video, sharing our experiences via video is just a natural progression, and it's a natural step for us to be taking. So I think it'll definitely become more popular, and I think when you look at the success of reality television, this is basically that, and being able to subscribe to people, what a great way to follow them. So right now, yeah, it seems like it might be a little gimmicky. It'll take a while, I think, for us to really figure out whether or not this is going to be a home run success for Facebook or not. But I think the concept is great, and hey, they have the user base, right? Unfortunately, Periscope doesn't have the user base. Thought it was a cool idea when I heard about Periscope, but I never used it. I still haven't used it.
I think for me, the frustrating thing about Periscope is the lack of the ability to search by topic. The one thing that they've immediately out of the box done on Blab is put a search box on there, and you can use the filters because there's a set of filters anyway with choosing topics. But also there you've got the ability, they've just put it back on, to search a topic or search a person, which if Periscope had got it right, they would have done that. But they really kind of got that wrong. So the question from Christopher here, how can something like someone flying a drone make Facebook money? It's an interesting question. I think it's a definite possibility that, for example, Matt's the one who's got the drone out of the three of us. I think that if you've got an event, let's say, maybe not a rocket launch, because I'm sure that a drone wouldn't be allowed too close to a rocket launch per se. But if you had an event where the only way to be able to see this thing was from a drone because of a safety, let's say they were going into Chernobyl and spending an extended period of time. I'm struggling, but I'm trying to think of how they would do this. So let me finish this stupid idea. But somewhere where you would exclusively, and it would be down to the exclusivity of the view from whatever it is. And if you had pre-roll ads or it was sponsored, whatever. Thank you, Christopher. That's absolutely right. As I laugh and the tablet falls over.
I'm going to chime in. I think the power of the, like, let's say go back to that Chernobyl thing. Like, what was rewarding to us in that pub was we had people being able to chime in and direct the conversation with questions. And so let's say there's a drone flyover of some event, someone could ask, oh, can we see that closer? And it makes it more engaging for us as the content creators. When we were at the pub, like when someone asks a question, it's just like, it makes it more fun for everybody. And so the people watching, it's more exciting. The engagement just from the creator to the participant, it just really energizes what's going on. So, I mean, Facebook making money from a drone per se. I mean, I think I'm tying it back to the live video, but make it so that there's you as a content creator, you listen to the audience live and make that number one. And then even like Blab here, it's got the easy thing to put the questions on the side. Like if the creator can kind of connect those two things, I think then, Facebook could start adding the advertisements in between, like, every 10 minutes or whatever, kind of like
Don't suggest them every 10 seconds because they'll go and do it.
Yeah, or maybe they could put a pop-up, but, let's say they could have an algorithm that could listen to you. So we start talking about drones, and they start putting drone ads on the bottom in text. I mean, the power of that could be, very lucrative for them. Anyway.
Yeah, no, I think that we're as a fire engine goes past, we're into an interesting space where I think that it's become a really interesting time for the future of technology, the future of the platforms as they are at the moment, because we all know that they need to monetize increasingly. I hope that when people advertise on platforms, increasingly they, as Dustin said, educate themselves properly, or go and engage the services of someone like Dustin here to, use the money in a smart way, because there's just too much of a risk. I have had clients who have said, we've spent X thousands, we've tried it, we don't believe it's, it's too new for us. It's too new. We'll go back to print or something. And actually, as soon as you put them in the room with someone who knows what they're doing and can reassure them and demonstrate the value that they would get back from it, and how much more accurate targeting is for company X to be advertising online to these people, and then still not forgetting the mix. If they've got budget and they can stretch to a really successful local radio show or to print ad to cross promote, then so be it. I'm all in support of people being democratic in the choice of formats that they decide to advertise on. However, we are at 8 minutes past 7, although on screen it says 7 minutes past 7. We actually top out if I go on to martincharlton.ca/CafeSoCo, and the number we have on there at the moment is 100. Oh, we've gone to 124. 124. So we've got 129 total. That doesn't count. 128 total. So thank you very much to everyone for taking part in this blab. It will be available again, edited and in the form of CafeSoCo via iTunes. Please do subscribe. Dustin, if people want to get in touch with you, how do they do that?
Our website, uninc.ca. You can Google me or find me on Facebook. If you're interested in finding me, I'm around. You'll find me.
And Matt Ramage has just looked at what we're talking about and gone, I don't want to be a part of promoting myself on this one. It's shambles. No, I want to say a big thank you to everyone that's taken part on this. If you want to get in touch, I'm at Dan Gold Media, as you can see on screen, although when it plays again, these boxes disappear. It will be available via YouTube, CafeSoCo.com, martincharlton.ca/CafeSoCo. And this just leaves me the point where I say thank you very much for watching or listening. Views and opinions expressed in this production may not be those of Martin Charlton Communications, anyone taking part in this, or any human beings on this planet, because it's very important to say that this is an independent production supported by Martin Charlton Communications. Christopher, thank you very much for your questions. Matt, thank you very much for chiming in as well. We're going to hit the big red button and make our way out of here. Thank you very much.